Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us for today's live session on OTA updates and cybersecurity. This session is brought to you by the team at India's leading automotive events, Commercial Vehicle Forum, Two-Wheeler Forum, Passenger Vehicle Forum. We have partnered with Electrobit India for this session. Electrobit is an award-winning and visionary global supplier of embedded and connected software product and services for the automotive industry. In terms of the structure of this session, we will start off first with a brief context setting presentation that gives you an overview of the topic, and then have a panel discussion with few audience Q&A at the end. Other than that, we will also be running some polls during the session to keep the session interactive and invite you to share your insights. So before we start the session, just wanted to share a small ground rule. I would request all the attendees to direct the questions to the Q&A section at the bottom of the screen. I'm asking you to do that so that we can refer to your questions in a focused manner. So please note once again, all questions to be referred to the Q&A section at the bottom. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to today's presenter, Ms. Pavitra Kumaraswamy, Lead Technical Architect at Electrobit India. Pavitra has over 14 years of experience in OTA, and prior to Electrobit had been associated with Mercedes-Benz Research and Development India. We are honored to have her on board today. Over to you, Pavitra.
Thank you, Rohit. Good morning, everyone. So today, for the next 15 minutes, I'll be talking on over-the-air updates and the cybersecurity in the automotive domain. I would start with the need for the OTA updates. So we have heard the several incidents whether the components have been failed in the vehicle and which has resulted into the hazards, and the OEMs have to recall the vehicles. This has made the huge financial hit, the reputation hit, the lawsuit, and the public image damage to the OEMs. Today, in the vehicle, we are getting the fully automated driving feature coming in the vehicle. And this requires the regular software updates to continuously improve the driver assistance functions. And today, the vehicle is getting connected to various devices and the infrastructure. So ideally, it is getting connected to the world. And this makes it more possible for the security attacks where intentionally the malicious software code could be introduced in the vehicle. For all the cases that we describe, we have to remotely analyze to identify these security attacks and the component failures in the vehicle and react immediately. Yeah. Over-the-air updates makes it possible to prevent and to respond to these security attacks and the component failures. At the end, it's a customer need. Today, the customer needs the vehicle to be updated automatically, remotely, without even going to the diagnostic service stations. Over-the-air updates also brings in two other advantages. The first advantage is that it enables the new business model. It makes or it enables the software as a service or software as a product in the automotive industry. The second advantage that it brings is having the ECUs and the system with the over-the-air updates, then this method could be integrated into the production process. Then the car's assembly, mechanical assembly could be simultaneous to the ECU firmware update. Moreover, the software up to date prior to the time of the delivery could be installed onto the ECUs of the vehicle irrespective of the vehicle's location. Also, this makes it possible for the OEMs to reduce the vehicle development lifecycle itself. Having understood the need for the OTA updates in the automotive industry, I would like to talk upon the solution for the OTA updates. Yeah, to start with, what is the fundamental functionality that is required in the OTA updates? I would brief. If you see in the picture, the right side of the picture talks about the backend components and the left side of the picture provides the vehicle components. And this would constitute to the fundamental functionality of the OTA updates. To start with the OTA updates, we have to identify the fleet of the vehicles in this fleet of the vehicles, what are the ECUs that have to be updated? And we have to understand what is the current version of the software that is installed in these ECUs, and what is the new version of the software that we have to update into these ECUs. This complete process is called as the campaign management, and we require the campaign management service to be available in the backend. And this results into the campaign creation. And to create the campaign, we have to know the fleet of the vehicles, the details of the vehicles. And this is the need for the vehicle management service in the backend. And we have to understand the current version of the software in the ECU and what is the version of the software to be updated. And this new software have to be available in the backend storage. And this requires the software management service. So we need campaign management, software management, and the vehicle management service to be deployed onto the backend. In order to access this service, we need the web application. That's a portal where the user have to use this web application to invoke these services to create the campaign. The campaign is for the fleet of the vehicles. So we have to split this campaign, or to make a subset of this campaign for an individual vehicle, which is called as a job. So the job is a subset of the campaign. Now coming to the vehicle components, the vehicle have to continuously poll for the job. If the vehicle has the job for it, then it has to download this job and orchestrate the complete update process. So when we say orchestrate the complete update process, it has to download the instructions for the job, it has to download the updated packages, and then it has to install these updated packages onto the target ECU. The master ECU is the one which will orchestrate this complete update process. So the master ECUs download the update packages from the backend and then install these packages onto the target ECU. While the master ECU is executing all this job, it will continuously provide the status to the backend about the job execution. And at the end of the job execution, it provides the result of the job to the backend. Hence, at the backend or at the portal, we need a service which will also put it onto the portal, the result of the job and the continuous progress of the job execution from the multiple vehicles. While we develop these components, which constitute the fundamental functionality of an OTA update, we should remember we have to bring in modularity, scalability, and the flexibility. The modularity is important in order to support the various onboard architecture from the different OEMs, and to support integrating the FOTA services to the already existing backend solutions from the OEM. And scalability is to support the large fleet of the vehicles with the quicker and the cost-effective updates. And flexibility is to deploy the solutions onto the different onboard and the backend architecture, and also to support the solution on the different platforms. On the backend, we have Azure, Google, Amazon platforms, and the solution should be compatible on all these platforms with a very minimal changes. And on the onboard, we will have the custom Linux solutions, we will have the standardized OTA solution. The solution, whatever the OTA solution that we provide, should be compatible on all these different platforms. Other than this, we also have to bring in the other key aspects into the FOTA solution. As in the picture shown in the middle of the picture, the security aspects, the failover strategies, and maximizing the OTA update efficiency are the three key aspects that we will have to bring in. The security is the most important aspect so that the attackers will not misuse this feature for their benefit. I'll be talking in more in detail about this particular aspect in the further slides. The next is the failover strategies. This is important to have a reliable OTA updates. Many times when we are downloading the software from the updated software from the backend, there could be the connection breaks. While the master ECU is installing the packages onto the target ECUs, there could be the communication failures. Whenever these failures happen, maybe these failures may be the transient failures. In such case, a retry could make the process success. So we will have to retry, and while we are retrying, we have to retry from an interrupted point so that we don't use the more data for downloading and we don't use the more time for the installation. If we could not mitigate the failures by the retry, then we have to roll back the software to the last operational software so that the vehicle itself will come back to the operational state, and any failure in the OTA updates doesn't make the user of the vehicle not to use the vehicle. The next aspect is to maximize the efficiency of the OTA updates. When we say maximize the efficiency, we have to reduce the bandwidth usage for the download, we have to reduce the overall update time, and then we have to reduce the downtime of the vehicle for the OTA updates. To reduce the bandwidth usage for the download and to reduce the overall update time, the Delta updates approach is a good approach, wherein instead of sending the complete updated software from the backend to the target ECU, we can send the difference of the old software and the new software, that is the delta, to the target ECU. And the target ECU will make up the complete software by merging the delta to the old software. There are several delta algorithms possible, and the efficiency of the delta algorithm itself will be based on the data. Hence, rather than going for the standalone delta algorithm, it is important to bring in the dynamic delta algorithms so it maximizes the efficiency of the OTA updates more. Once the packages has been downloaded by the vehicle takes the time to do the installation of these packages into the target ECU. While the installation is happening, the old software have to be erased and the new software have to be updated. And for this, the vehicle have to be in the park position. Instead of, we can bring in a new approach called as an AB update, wherein the target ECU instead of having just one partition, if the target ECUs have two partition, where the old software is in, or the current software is in one partition and the updated software is installed onto the second partition, then while the vehicle itself is running, the installation of the update packages can also be executed. Then the downtime of the vehicle will just be only for the activation of the updated software. This would significantly reduce the downtime of the vehicle. However, for maximizing the efficiency will come at the cost of the more money. So to summarize, when we bring the fundamental functionality for the OTA updates, we should keep in mind to bring in the modularity, scalability, and the flexibility as features into the functionalities. Also, the important aspects like security, failover strategies, and the maximizing the efficiency of the OTA updates for the benefit of the end customer. Having all this end-to-end solution or a holistic solution for the OTA updates will just not furnish all the challenges. There are other several challenges for the OEMs, like the OEMs have to address the dependencies of the ECUs while they create the campaigns. This is very much important. All the dependent ECUs have to be identified rightly, and the campaign have to be created with the right version of the software to be updated. The OEMs have to define the safe state. The update process have to happen while the vehicle is in the safe state. The OEMs have to decide on whether the silent or the loud update is good for the OTA updates, or the mix or the combination of these updates. Also, whether the vehicle have to pull the jobs or the backend have to push the jobs for the vehicle for the OTA updates is also important aspects the OEM have to decide on. Along with this thing, we also have today the mobile industry gaining the business or trying to gain the business in the automotive domain for the OTA updates. For a mobile, there will be hardly one or the two chips where the updating of these two chips will not be that difficult. But it's not the same for the vehicle. In the vehicle, there are the multiple ECUs. The dependencies of the ECUs have to be addressed before the OTA updates has to happen. Hence, the OEM have to also rethink while going for the solutions which are coming from the mobile industries. With understanding this, the holistic solution for the OTA updates, I would like to talk on how we can secure the complete OTA update. The OTA updates will start with a portal where the campaign creations have to be started in the portal, and the portal uses the services from the backend to do this. Hence, the portal to service authentication is important. And also in the portal, we have to define the specific roles who can create the campaigns and who can continuously monitor these campaigns. Within the backend services, we have the several services that will be installed. So the FOTA services and other services from the OEM. Before invoking any services, the service to service authentication have to be performed in order to avoid any unintended service invocation and resulting into the falsifying of the update packages or the update process itself. The communication between the backend and the vehicle have to be authenticated so that the backend is communicating to the right vehicle, and any data communication to the vehicle should be encrypted and signed so that there is no falsifying of the data that reaches to the vehicle. Within the vehicle, once the vehicle gets the packages or any communication from the vehicle to the backend, the master ECU will perform. However, the master ECU to the target ECU, the communication should also be in an encrypted format and in the signed format. Only the target ECU have to decrypt these packages and to put it onto the memory. During this entire orchestrating of the update process within the vehicle, the master ECU have to store the downloaded packages in the external storage device, as the installation itself will take its time. Hence, the storage device which is used for this storing these packages should be a secure storage. Will all this makes it an end-to-end security? Will this be enough? These authentications and the data encryption and signing will be good enough for the end-to-end security for the OTA updates? Not really. We have to secure the entire vehicle. So let's now understand why we have to secure the entire vehicle for the over-the-air updates security. The attackers use a lot of attack methods like brute force, packet sniffing, man-in-the-middle attack, jamming, the denial of the service to falsify the update packages. But what is their entry point to try all these attack methods? So vehicle to vehicle, vehicle to infrastructure connectivity, the communication channels which are there for the backend and the IoT devices, the external storage device that is there for the infotainment domain, the nomadic devices like the Bluetooth, which are available in the vehicle, the OBD connectors, and these are the various security entry points for the attackers to try the attack methods listed here to falsify the update packages or to deny the update process itself. Hence, we have to bring in the security in the entire vehicle. So within the vehicle, we have to protect our core ECUs. We have to protect our connected ECU. And we have to bring in the in-vehicle network protection. A good example for an in-vehicle network protection is to have the firewall and to have the intrusion detection and the prevention system within the ECUs, which will bring in-vehicle network protection. Also, from outside of the vehicle, we have to continuously monitor the fleet to detect if there is any security attack that is happening, and we have to respond to these attacks. Today, the regulations are also mandating the security certifications. The UN regulations, the United Nations Economic Commission for the Europe, is created a working party for the automated and the connected vehicles, that is WP29GRVA, which is defining the regulations for the approval of the vehicles related to the security, cybersecurity. There are also standards that's been defined, that is ISO 21434, which is defining the security requirements for throughout the entire vehicle lifecycle development and the operations. So they say the cybersecurity by design. So it is important that while we develop the software for the entire vehicle lifecycle development, we adhere to these security requirements. So in summary, just by authentication and authenticating the complete communication path for the OTA updates and by encrypting the communication data would not be good enough. but we also have to secure the entire vehicle, and we will have to adhere to the standards and the regulations that are coming up for the cybersecurity to secure the OTA updates. From Electrobit, we have the products which provides the end-to-end OTA solution. We have the EBKDN product line, which has two products, EBKDN Sync and the EBKDN Analytics. The EBKDN Analytics is for the remote diagnostics, and the EBKDN Sync is for the over-the-air updates. So just now what was described, the end-to-end, the holistic solution has been incorporated in the EBKDN Sync. From Electrobit, we have the products for the end-to-end security solutions. In a system architecture, from the platform till the backend infrastructure, there will be several software components which have to have the security features incorporated. For the platform and for the onboard communication, we have the products EB Resource, EB Centure, and the EB Corpus, which have the various security features incorporated. For the secure network segmentation and the extended secure communication and the interfaces, our subsidiary company Argus have brought in the core ECU protection, connected ECU protection, network protection, security logger products. For the secure backend infrastructure from our subsidiary company Argus, we have the fleet protection and the aftermarket protection. Along with all these products, we do perform the threat analysis and the risk assessment. We derive the complete security concept for the vehicle, and we also perform the penetration testing. All our products where we are bringing the security features, we are adhering to the WP29 security requirements. This completes the brief on over-the-air updates and the cybersecurity, and thank you for your attention.
Thanks for that, Pavitra. Thanks for that insightful presentation. Now to kick off the panel discussion, I would like to introduce all the way from sunny England, Tim Campbell, who Managing Director of Campbell's Consultancy, who's the moderator for the session. And Tim is somebody who has over 35 years of experience in the commercial vehicle industry. As you can see in his background, he's collected all the trucks and buses possible. And Tim, with his deep expertise in the automotive sector, is a much sought after consultant, speaker, advisor, and mentor. And we are super stoked to have him on board today. Over to you, Tim.
Okay, good morning, everybody. And thank you, Rohit, for that introduction. And welcome to everybody. And thank you to Pavitra for a wonderful presentation on Electrobit as well. As we said, we've got quite a few. We've got 2 or 3 polls. We've certainly got some more questions coming in at the moment. I think we're up to 13 questions. As I think we said, please keep your, instead of going through the chat, please go through the Q&A, and we'll try and get some of the questions that you're asking to the panel as well. What we want to do also is, first of all, start off with a poll, and we want to ask you, Tesla has had OTA updates for many years now. The big established automakers still aren't adopting them at scale. Why not? Is it lack of awareness or customer demand? Is it regulatory concerns, security concerns? Automakers are wary of losing service revenue. I'm going to be chatting that. Certainly 2 or 3 of these conversations we're going to be having over the next sort of 40 minutes or so. Are large-scale automakers not the most innovative and need regulatory push to include new features in their vehicles? So you've got some good interest in there. Please be, the whole idea of this is to be interactive. Please vote on the polls, and I'll give you a little bit of update as we go along. Now, as you're doing the polls, I'd like to introduce you to the panel that we've got here, a great set of people. We've got Ajay, who's the Head of Analytics and Digital at BE Commercial Vehicles. We've got Sachin, who's Head of Internet of Things at Zoomcar. We've got Nikunja, who's the President of the ASTC and Director of the FADA, and also founder of JC 4-Wheel Motors. Sanjay, who's the Director, obviously, of Electrobit, is going to be with us. Abhimanyu, who's the VP of Engineering at Volvo Automotive, and obviously Pavitra, who's done the introduction. So we've got a nice spread of people from the OEM side of it, from the dealer side of it, from OTA side and the software side, all spread across that from two wheels right the way up to the heavy trucks. So hopefully you'll enjoy yourself over the next 40 minutes and we'll hopefully cover all the areas. First thing I want to say to the panel is, obviously, from a software perspective, from the automotive industry, what effect is COVID having on us all at the moment? And maybe start off with maybe Sachin, maybe you want to answer that first of all?
Sure. So the COVID situation really gave us an insight that, hey, software is needed in every vehicle and every vehicle ought to be connected. Because even when you take Zoomka, for example, we had a fleet of 8,000 vehicles sitting idle for a quarter, which is a very long time. Most of the batteries were drained out. We didn't know which vehicles were at which state. Right? But luckily, since all our vehicles are connected and have IoT capabilities fitted with aftermarket solutions, we were in a much better situation to make an informed decision, which vehicle needs servicing, which vehicle needs attention in terms of battery and all. Right? So this insight wouldn't be possible if the vehicles were not connected. So with this experience, I would say and urge everyone that, hey, we will need connected vehicles in times to come.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else got a view on that one? From an OEM perspective, how's it happening? What's happening there from maybe AJ?
Good morning, everybody. Yes, again, I'll just add on to what Sachin just mentioned. See, as a COVID situation, the push for a software-driven concept, a software-driven adoption has definitely taken a big leap. There's a demand coming in. There are 2-3 elements. One is the connected element, and then is the software-driven approach. The connected element is basically about how we can harness the information generated by our vehicles, the behavior they're exhibiting in the market, and how it can be used in the aftermarket as well as in the product quality. Now that element, I think Sachin has just mentioned that it gives them the advantage of using the, knowing about how the vehicle is, when to go for a ride service and other elements. So there is one aspect of that. The other aspect is how this information can be used to improve the quality of service, the quality of the product, to come into 2 areas, the preventive and the corrective actions. So the preventive action can only come when we harness this knowledge into take it to the product quality aspect, so that we provide a better customer experience. At Volvo Eicher, what we have done is we have created a concept called uptime, and it is available in the market from our side as well as an offering to all our BS6 customers that we offer. This uptime concept is nothing about we are able to monitor the vehicles, provide a better quality of service through our dealerships as an aftermarket service. Our dealerships are now equipped with the digital information from the vehicles so that they provide the right service to the customer and improve the uptime of the vehicle. The other element of is you are using that knowledge to take it back to the product quality and bring in the preventive aspect. That is from the connected angle. Now, what COVID has done is also given us a thought, or rather given us a learning that we need to think of the over-the-air updates also. And that is what we are working with Volvo. It's an early stage, I'll say that. However, the journey for OTA and connected has to go together. Without connected, there cannot be an OTA. You need to have a connected gateway, which again, all of understand telematics acts as a gateway for all of us. So yes, it gives us a push. And again, the market is open. We are onto it with the right technology and the expertise available. I think it is going to add up to the quality of service for the customers.
Thank you very much. Ram, I think I missed you out when they did the introductions. I apologize to you. Can you also give your perspectives as well? Sorry about that.
No problem. Yeah, I mean, both Sachin and Ajay have touched upon those points about the OTA and overall the COVID situation and how is it going, getting handled. As I said, I mean, probably I would say this is probably the early days of adoption, and what we have seen in the market, or probably as an OEM with the kind of an intelligence coming into the picture, the way the network boom had happened in India, the mobile networks and all, right? It's still early days of adoption, but whatever we have seen with what are the kind of the customer needs which are getting into the market in the last 2 years, there is definitely lots of demand which is picking up, and being there with the software is something really, really important. Just not about the COVID situation. COVID situation is a different situation, and for many of those people who are not having this as a primary thought of building products, was a more of a wake up call. But there are people in the same industry, or probably in the same realm of products which are being developed, thinking about a product portfolio which inherently has software as one of the main focal areas. And that is where Aether comes from. That is where probably Tesla had come from. That is where Aether also had actually come out as a thing. So for us, it's never an afterthought. It was as part of our actual product portfolio, and that is where we are driven. The situation is different for different OEMs, is because of probably not having this early adoption is probably one of the reasons not having this, but predominantly OTA had been there for a while, and it's not a newer thing to adopt to. It's only the kind of product portfolio what you're building, and it has to come inherently into your portfolio even before you start thinking about it. And that is probably our thinking in that sense.
Yeah, okay. It's thank you very much indeed, Ram, and apologise again. I think it's quite interesting that you mentioned the mobile network has been a big issue for everyone. What's the view for yourself, or Abhimanyu? Are you the same in terms of the mobile might be the network might be holding back some of the potential?
Yes. I think for a scooter rental company like Vogo, where we have cell phones of the users being used to unlock the bike, the IoT sitting on the vehicle, and the hardware and software sitting on the IoT and being connected completely to the sensors in the scooter itself, I think everything is driven by 2G and 4G network that we have in India. And there were a lot of cases during the OTA where we found a lot of failures just because of low connectivity or bikes being parked in the basement. And in such times, what we started designing is a OTA over Bluetooth, and that's what helps fleet owners like us, because most of the times we have our scooters in hundreds of numbers being parked for maintenance or servicing. When they come, they are being parked in a very close location, and a OTS software which can be driven over Bluetooth is something that came out to be very, very handy for us to overcome the network perspective.
Okay, good. I think, Robert, you've got a poll that you can share with us all now. Okay, so what we're seeing here is certainly the big one here is that security concerns. I don't think that surprised many of the audience in front of us here. I think that is a big number one. And then we've got second is large-scale automation are not the most innovative. It needs to be regulations, regulatory driving the forward. I think we've seen this in emission standards and things like that. Manufacturers will not naturally make their way there. They have to be dragged there. And also, as I said, lack of customer awareness is certainly coming out there quite strong. And so I think looking at that, I think maybe it might be an interesting conversation saying there is security. That's the big one that we're looking at. So what's your view from a dealership perspective in terms of security? What do you feel is happening there as well? Yeah, I think we've lost Nikunj for a while. I'll come back to you in a second. And yeah, I'll talk to you in a second. I think it's a bad line at the moment.
Okay.
AJ, from the Volvo, what's your, obviously security is number one by the looks of it.
Right. So, Tim, my take is that the security definitely, as I think in the poll it has come out, is a security concern. The way to manage it that from a dealership angle, there are two aspects of the OTA that needs to be taken into account. It's not always over the air. It is about a local OTA and a remote OTA. We need to look this problem into two aspects. So over the air network definitely has that, okay, as I think Abhimanyu mentioned, a Bluetooth enabled. So what we do at our dealerships, going by the experience that we have from Volvo, we have created this device which is responsible for doing this over the air upgrade using the Bluetooth technology. We already have that. And we have seen that it is useful in terms of the time, the repair time reduction, ensuring all the security protocols are taken care. It does not breach any of the elements that are of a concern. And second, it gives the dealership the advantage to bring their technicians to that level also. See, we need to see that the software will not work automatically, or the tool will not work. We need to have the right skill available from the servicing perspective. And through this OTA or the software technology aspect, we are also looking into the technicians, what you call competency aspect to enable the service at dealerships. So one is that angle. The other aspect is the remote OTA. Now, remote OTA from a dealership perspective is like if the vehicle is at, let's say 100 kilometers away and there is a breakdown assistance call has come to a dealership. Is there a need for a dealership technician to visit that in case he understands what the problem is? The question lies is if the vehicle is connected, the dealer will know what problem it has right now. And the right tool and enablement can be done from dealer location directly. That is the quality of service we need to look at.
Good.
The remote OTA comes into the picture in case the problem is from a software side. A mechanical problem, definitely the van has to go or the technician has to go and do an hands-on job. But from a dealership angle, that is where the quality of service improvement comes in.
Okay, good one.
This is my take from that side.
Yeah. Sanjay, tell us a bit, you obviously did a little bit, quite a bit on, and Pavitra did quite a bit on the security side. The same for you guys. Is that the thing that you come up against, is security is a big issue?
Of course. I mean, if you see the vehicle today, it has become an device on the internet. So from that perspective, obviously, it is also like any computer or smartphone which can be hacked, right? So essentially, security is a big topic for any connected vehicle, not only with respect to OTA, but for any connected vehicle. But I think what the OEMs need to consider is while building this foundational platform of connecting the vehicle, they need to consider security as one of the core aspects. I have seen that missing. So what happens is a platform is built, then as a retrofit, security is built on top of it. And that for one is a very difficult task. And second, of course, increases the cost. So in my mind, whenever the foundational layer is being built, the security needs to be considered and all the aspects of security needs to be built in to ensure a secured platform across different layers. And we have seen in the presentation that the security starts right from the device to the cloud. And the communication also needs to be secured. So I think this needs to be kept in mind. And as all the panelists have mentioned, security is one of the biggest topic in the connected vehicle landscape. Okay, good.
Changing the subject slightly, I think we've now got that in terms of security is the big issue for us all. Hopefully, Nikunj, I think, are you back online with us now? Maybe I'd like to ask you a different thing, which is obviously you're from the dealer network, and I think people are obviously certainly the dealer network is frightened that they might lose revenue in this sort of area where we're getting the fact that it might bypass them. What's your view on that at the moment? What's your perspective on that for the dealer network within India?
So I think there are two ways of looking at it. One, I think dealerships are a place which, under the present circumstances, probably give you an extremely secure environment where the OTAs could be updated and the entire protocol of updating an OTA is followed in the dealership. Customers in India today probably will not be as aware of all the security protocol that they need. So a dealership could be the place which would ensure that the entire SOP is met with and the software is downloaded in a secure environment and the car is tested after having downloaded an OTA. So, which could also mean additional revenue for the dealership. The other way of looking at it is, of course, that since most of the faults that do occur are of the nature of software and not so much of hardware. So you could look at an aspect where the customer doesn't need to now come to the dealership at all, and where OEM could handle the entire update of not only in security, but also in terms of removing errors which happen in the software when he's using the car. So it has both sides of an opportunity for the dealership and also loss of opportunity for the dealership.
Yeah.
I'd be more positive and say that it's a new field and a new where dealerships if they are equipped properly and full of revenue to the dealership.
Yeah, I think that's exactly. I think there's a challenge there, and I think that's again, it's got to be thought through from an OEM and also from a dealer network. It's certainly got to be challenged in that area. I think we're maybe ready for another poll because I think we've got into it pretty well now. What we're going to ask you now is having a look at a poll. When will we see mass adoption of OTA updates across the automotive sector? When do you think this will happen? Within the next year? Within 1 to 3 years? 3 to 5 years? After 5 years? Or are we looking at never? It's going to be a passing fad and we'll get something different completely. Please give us your insight and we'll use that as a methodology of talking to our panel as well. Whilst we're looking at that and talking about that, one of the things that we need to chat about is looking at fleets, whether it's 2-wheel, 3-wheel, 4-wheel, whatever it is. All fleets or many fleets, never one manufacturer. There sometimes are 2 or 3 different manufacturers who might have completely different OTAs and different APIs and different ways of talking to us. What's the panel's view on how we integrate that? If I'm a user and I have 2 or 3 different manufacturers, how do I, or OEMs, how do I actually get on with, can I integrate them? Can I get involved with them? What's the realistic world, if we like? And so I think what we'll, Abhimanyu, you must have quite a lot of different OEMs, as you said. Does it frustrate you that you have completely different systems with different manufacturers? That's Abhimanyu at Vogo.
Hey Tim, I'm sorry, I just lost you for like a
Okay.
couple of seconds, but I believe to ask is how do we integrate different manufacturer automobiles, different hardwares?
Yes.
Yes, Tim. So for a fleet owner like us, we have different forms of vehicles, some low powered ones, some medium powered, some motorcycles and scooters, and we have to have a common IoT, an IoT hardware and a software which is agnostic to the OEMs, to the model, agnostic to petrol or electric vehicles, because most of the fleet owners like us are gradually moving from IC engine to electric vehicles in the future. So basically, I think from the core of the design of hardware as well as software, it has to be thought, because if I talk about software, the power, for a petrol scooter, it has to be a very low powered software, whereas for a electric vehicle, it could be a very high power one, which can have bursts of data and connectivity to the network. So I think from ground up, it has to be thought while designing the IoT hardware as well as software, so that the fleet owners like us could integrate a lot of different products into the fleet.
Okay, good, thanks. Sachin, what about you at Zoomcar?
Yeah, there are 2 aspects to it. One is what Abhimanyu mentioned for the end device being vehicle agnostic, so that you can integrate 2-wheeler, 3-wheelers, 4-wheelers, or even a 24-wheeler truck into it. But when you look at it from an OEM's perspective, OEM would be dealing with a lot of vendors, right? Each part would come from a different part of the world. So it's very hard for him to streamline or get everything from one single vendor. That's just not possible. So I think this problem is mostly solved by the drive-by wire technology, wherein all the parts are connected to the ECU, and then the ECU takes care of what to do, right? So it's like all the different parts are interfaced. Maybe they'll be having different protocols, but at a software level, it's taken care of, and the ECU is one common deciding factor which integrates or takes in all that information and then makes them work together. So it is pretty much handled as far as the ECU is concerned, but we still do see different firmwares on ECUs coming up for makes and models that roll out different year, right? For example, for us, when we try to interface a vehicle which is of 2018 model, we'll need to use a different process. But when it's a 2019 model, it's again altogether different model for us.
Yeah, really frustrating. Yeah, I can imagine that. Ram, are you the same? What's your view?
Hey, right. So I think Sachin had already summed up what I wanted to say. So, as an OEM manufacturer, right, as you rightly said, we get parts from different parts of the world. To be honest, as an electric vehicle manufacturer, and ECU is definitely the solution for it, and software helps quite a bit. We do. I mean, what Sachin told us definitely makes lots of sense, and that's how we also as an OEM work on. Let's abstract out and build only the interfaces required. There's quite a bit of changes as he rightly pointed out every year on year, the kind of manufacturing we are getting into, the kind of hardware is what we are getting across the globe, or probably when we are making it locally in India, right? The kind of advancements which we are getting into, right? It becomes more and more tougher for us. So ECU is the way to go, and abstracting out the software and building an interface around us is what would solve the problem. And that is where everyone probably would be heading towards, and that is where we are also focusing on.
Okay, just a couple more, and then I think I'll share the poll with you. I can't miss out VE and the Electrobit. Sanjay, just a quick couple of words on that one as well for you. It must be the same sort of challenge.
Yes, yes. So additionally to whatever our esteemed panelists spoke about, so from a software standpoint, OTA solution has two components, right? One is the backend component and one is the device component. Backend component can remain uniform, right? Because backend component needs to, campaign management needs to figure out what software needs to be updated, while and backend component can be uniform across vehicle lines, across portfolios, across verticals. While there will be specific nuances on the device side, a device might be running on different OSs, a device might be running on different platforms. So as some of the panelists slightly said, that on the device side, the different nuances of the different flavors needs to be abstracted out, while the backend can remain the same. So most of the work needs to be done on the device side to take care of all these differences in terms of OSs, in terms of different platforms.
Yeah,
that will be very, yeah.
Last book. Ajay from OM from VE, you must be, I will complete the circle if you like to an extent.
Yes, Tim, I do. So as an OEM, what I think just Sanjay just mentioned, so I'll just put it in a different perspective. See, the layer of abstraction happens at the ECU level. The connectivity happens from the telematics side. Now, telematics acts as a gateway for any activity to happen on the vehicle. Now, this brings in the element of how the security will play out. Now, that means for OTA or any software activity to happen from this whole chain, the security starts from the chip to all the 8 or 9 layers that we can define, even going to the IT landscape of going to the cloud side. A chip or a buffer size, the device, the different ICUs to talk to each other. That level of security comes into the picture when we want to enable a software update from a telematics or from a remote side to a particular component of the vehicle. Now, this level of communication is handled through that security channel. And that is why nowadays, with more and more technologically, it is possible to do it. The software-driven approaches are there. The platforms are there. So we find it that it is going to become much simpler, easier to adopt as we proceed further. And again, I'll quote my example from our organization perspective. We are with Volvo from almost more than 10, 15 years. We have this experience already how this OTA can be done. We have seen this in the European market. We have seen this in the American market. And we have seen that this adoption is there. The only part is the percentage is low. Again, considering the market maturity, the market readiness, the network side of it, all those elements comes into the picture. But bringing in the technologically, the answer is yes, it's possible. And it's available right now. It is just for us to just embrace and adopt it.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, AJ, no problem. I think we've got the poll ready now for the from the last one we had, which was obviously about when will mass adoption. And we're talking about we're certainly here between 1 and 5 years. I think some 90% of people have said within 1 and 5 years. So the good thing for you guys and girls here is the fact that, yeah, it's inevitable. And the whole, everybody that's talking to us here believes within 5 years that we will be 90% believe that we'll have mass adoption of OTA. So it proves that you're in the right industry. Well done, gentlemen and lady. I think that's the interesting side. I think also, I'm conscious that we're coming towards the last sort of 10 minutes or so. I think it's important now that maybe we do one more poll, and also then I'm going to talk to you about maybe you've got examples, real world cases where OTAs really helped you, and how, so to give people a little bit of a vision for the next 3 to 5 years. And I'm going to go around and ask you maybe just to give us an idea of how you see it happening. Maybe you've got some clients you've got already that are on experimental stuff. Maybe just give us an idea of what's that going on. But I'll just first of all give you a last poll that we're going to get involved with. And that poll is, what will happen to dealership revenue once OTA updates are introduced? So will dealer revenues get boosted? Will revenue fall down, or will it remain the same? And obviously I would expect Nikunj to have definitely a view on that one straight away. But well, if you vote on that, then, and I'll be going back to the team later on, if you give us another 5 or 6 minutes. So now, as I said, how can we take full advantage of OTA and the connectivity platforms with real world use cases? Maybe you can help me out with some of those sort of examples. I'll go through the whole team if you like. We'll start maybe with, and we'll start with Abhimanyu. Have you got real world examples of how this has happened and helped us?
Yes, Tim. So I'll try to concentrate on the fleet use cases for rental fleet use cases. So as in the start of the session, we were talking about how suddenly COVID happened, and software and OTA was the main savior for us, because our algorithms on the vehicle to geofence had to be completely changed. Like, we had a city-wide geofence. Instead of that, we have to have like area-wise geofencing for your green zones and yellow zones and red zones. So the complete single circle algorithm, a very small example, but a single circle algorithm had to go for a multi-counter geofencing algorithm, which was never thought by us. We always thought city to be a one single entity, and the vehicle could move in the city when we designed the software. So in the future, if I say, for fleets, most of the fleet owners have gone from a keyed vehicle to a keyless vehicle. From the consumers have started using their cell phone and Bluetooth as a technology to unlock the bike. But I believe in the near future, the fleet owners will go to a cell phone less unlock for the bike, where the fleet will have dashboards for the consumers to directly log into the vehicle, or maybe somehow unlock the vehicle even without the phone. So our complete product portfolio, which is there on the Android app, will go on the vehicle. And then I believe in the future, the use cases of OTA, the security, the importance of OTA is going to keep on increasing, because everything that we have on the app is going to move on the vehicle and the cluster. So OTA is very, very core to the fleet owners, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's good. Right, Ram, yourself, what do you got a view on that one? So real world examples of how we can help.
Yeah, I mean, OTA is definitely the part and parcel of the product portfolio, what we deal with. And one of the key aspects of that was the entire connectivity platform, which is the way to go, or probably the differentiator in the entire market of OEMs. The biggest, I mean, one of the use cases, what I would talk about, whether it's from the fleet sense or from the customer centric, is the ride statistics. So if you look at how is my ride behavior to start with, and if I'm able to find out what are those areas where my ride is like pretty good, or think about a daily commute to your workplace and coming back from work to home, and right. So this is where probably you start looking at how connectivity platform helps, and how do you give a proper OTA to the customers and have that the feature built to the customers or to the fleet owner. From the fleet owner's perspective, it is more of how are my vehicles doing, how are the riders on my vehicles doing. If you see in the recent past in India, lots of logistic companies or the last mile companies have been coming into the picture, whether it's delivery, the last mile delivery, whether it could be the self-drive kind of automotives, right? The ride stats is one of those use cases that predominantly comes into my mind, whether it is in India or elsewhere in the world, where it makes lots of sense to have a properly built connectivity platform and have a regular communication with those vehicles using the OTA. And OTA, everyone thinks that it is just like a package. Every time you want to do something and you want to update, everyone has that misconception. I just want to blow it out today. OTA could be as simple as I want to send some parameters back to my vehicle and talk about, okay, hey, and now you're doing this, and probably you might have a different, probably an update. Hey, that is probably the area you cannot even get into. It's blocked. The road is blocked, and you're able to find it out, or probably change the configuration of the vehicle and say, hey, I want to push you a new, a map or a direction now, because the directions are closed because of the COVID. So I just want to blow that misconception of having OTA is just like a package and it's like a mobile phone, you get a software update, but OTA could be anything else.
Brilliant, thanks. Sanjay, Electrobit, you must have some examples, I'm sure.
Yes, sure. Yeah. So as Ram rightly said, I mean, OTA requires the vehicle to be connected. And with vehicle getting connected to the back end, it opens up multiple possibilities, right? Such as updates, upgrades, software installation, defect fixes, etc. So I will only talk about some future use cases, interesting use cases that we are looking at. So see, OEMs today are contemplating subscription-based feature enablement model, right? So that means that the vehicles will already come equipped with fully loaded features. However, the features will be turned on and off based on the user subscription. So if that has to be done, obviously the vehicle needs to be updated, upgraded, the feature needs to be switched on and off. So these can only be possible with OTA, right? This can only be possible once the vehicle is connected. So I think these are all the possibilities that are opening up for the OEMs.
Brilliant, thanks, thank you. Sachin, Zoomcar?
Yes, so the COVID definitely had many live examples where we really needed these updates. Other than that, we are improving our product portfolio where we are working on driver scoring, car health, and many other parameters. Right? So as we keep on increasing the complexity of algorithms at our end, we also need the device to keep reporting those values at specific intervals. Right? So all this is taken care by OTA. Otherwise, it would be impossible to contact all the vehicles and then make these updates and make it happen.
Great example, great example. AJ, finally, on the VE, in terms of OTA, some examples of where it's helped you and helped the customer, the end user, more importantly.
Sure, Tim. The real life example that we have seen is the beauty of this connected vehicles has been in the remote diagnostics. The one I just mentioned in about 10 minutes back is, let's say in a remote location, the vehicle has got into a breakdown mode and the dealership is available at 200 or 100 kilometers away. So if we are able to have a vehicle which is connected, it is letting us know through the information that we have from the connected vehicle, what problem it has. It allows the dealership to send the right technician and right part. That is the easiest of all. Second is it can also allow him to take up a right software update from if it is related to a software, which can be done through a Bluetooth technology. So this is a real life example and we have experienced it and delivered it through our uptime center already. And this is part of our offering that we are in the market right now with an uptime service for all BS6 vehicles that we offer through our facility now. They are enabled with uptime features right now. So this is available for people to just experience live.
Thanks, Ajay. Nikunja, obviously from a dealership perspective as well, what have you got in terms of from a dealer perspective?
So I guess in this pandemic situation, the biggest thing that we learned was contactless service experience to the customer. So a lot of customers did not want to actually physically come in touch with the service advisor or the technicians. And we had to develop a system where we could give a contactless service experience to the customer, where he just on an app demands his service, demands his, also enumerates the problems that he's facing, and we are able to give him a complete update in terms of the time taken and the cost estimate. And the entire experience is contactless, where he doesn't need to come to the dealership, visit the dealership, or actually physically come in contact with any of our people and still get his vehicles serviced, makes the payment and gets it back delivered to his house. So I think that's a huge thing that happened during this pandemic, and we probably had never thought of it before.
Yeah, I think great point that COVID has actually driven the market to somewhere where maybe it shortened the time scale, if you like, where it would have taken maybe 2 years. Now it's done in 2 months, and I think that's a good point and a good the one or two positives that COVID has given us certainly in that area. Okay, I think it's time to have a quick look at the poll as well. Let's have a look, see how people voted on the dealership revenue. So, gosh, it's OTA seen as a good thing, a positive boost to the dealership network. Nikunja, just to sort of talk to you there straight away. 52%, over half the people believe that dealer revenues will be boosted. And to be honest, I'll be perfectly truthful. I thought that was going to go the other way. So tell me, that must be good news for your members and for the dealer network anyway.
I was guessing that because I think I probably anticipated this question or the poll, and even before you had asked for the poll, I said the dealership revenue. Probably this could be a new line of revenue for dealerships, and I guess which is particularly correct in India, where the customers are still very, very unaware of the kind of technology which is coming in, what are the kind of awareness and information that they need. And probably because the cars are moving, while you can update your telephone and if it's all right, if it hangs and it doesn't work, but you can't have your car getting updated and if the software hangs and you are stuck in nowhere. So you would definitely want somebody who understands the car, who understands the software, and who understands the safe environment and does this service for you, so you can be absolutely sure that when a software is updated, your car will continue to behave the way it is supposed to behave. And I think that security, and I think that's where a lot of our teams will need to get updated, reskilled and upskilled to handle situations like this. And I definitely think that it's going to be a huge source of revenue for the dealerships once this technology comes in, at least for the next few years, when the customers are unaware, when the customers really do not understand what the entire software universe is going to do to their cars and their driving experience.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks. Okay. Let's have a look. Ram, what's your view on that one? You think they'll see that the dealer network will be better off?
Yeah, I was on that 52%. So obviously, there's lots of opportunities and like for as Mr. Nikunj has rightly mentioned out or pointed out towards, there's lots of opportunity, especially in India, and there's lots of awareness which is happening in and around. And as OEMs, we work quite closely with the dealers and promoting that, and we work almost hand in hand. We get to know about the customers, the way the customers are moving towards, right? So, and this is definitely a good revenue area for the dealers also to make it more. It is more of an innovative product. If you see traditionally how dealerships used to work, people used to bring in their vehicles, and then the dealer used to talk about what is happening with the vehicle and give a quote, or probably talk about talk through them through the repairs and all that. Think about now dealer is connecting them virtually and talking to them and addressing their problem. That gives quite a bit of confidence to the customer also, that a dealer is just not banging on me in terms of my service costs and all that stuff. And dealers are becoming more compassionate to talk about in that sense. It's an innovation with a lots of compassion in it. So that's where the industry should be moving to.
Yeah. I think it's like you say. I think it's a case of it's a communication process now, and I think it's an alternative, a different way, a different method of talking to a customer and engaging with the end user, which is what we need to do as well. From an OEM perspective, AJ, you've obviously got a hell of a dealer network out there. Do you see that? Do you agree with that? You see that as a moving forward area?
Oh yes, definitely. It is my more than 100% in this area. Yes, and as Mr. Nikunj mentioned, that it's basically a hand in glove situation, that where OEMs has to work with dealers, and that is what we do. Whatever contactless, whatever digitalization penetration we do at dealerships, they are as per the inputs which we got from the dealerships, and that is if you go to our dealerships right now, 95% or more than that activities are done through our digital channels. Be it a simple job of opening up a job card. At our dealerships, it is done through an app, a digital platform. And that is how we are able to make the efficiency improvement. And also the bigger element is in digital adoption, or this connected adoption, is the technology embracement by the technicians at dealership. And that is what the OEM needs to work upon. And we have our dedicated competency framework in our organization, wherein we work with dealerships to improve their competency to embrace new concepts. The technology changes from BS4 to BS6, which has come in India along with COVID. So COVID has not only brought itself, BS6 has also come in for us from a CV OEM perspective. So we need to handle both sides of it. The technology adoption, the competency development at dealerships, as well as improve the digitalization penetration in there. And connected vehicles is another stepping stone in it. And it gives us so much opportunities to improve the workshop or the service revenues when we have the vehicles which are connected. Now vehicles are talking. Let me put this in a simplistic way. Now they're talking and telling us what actual problem, when I want this schedule, when I want this service, what type of service I want, what type of repair I want. All this information, when it put into a right frame, it improves the workshops, the dealerships to put a right technology on it and a right technician on it. And the job is to enable it through a competency framework, enable them with the right tools, and then the journey is on.
Good, thanks AJ. Right, a couple of questions we've got 3 or 4 minutes before we finish maybe. A couple of questions we've got on here. I'll just pick out some of those. Like Windows Update, will the user have the option to choose what update he wants or she wants, and can they revert some update if that has caused an issue to the vehicle? Electrobit, let's talk to Sanjay. Talk to me about updates and rolling back. Obviously blue screens I don't think we're going to get, hopefully, but talk to us about that.
Okay, so updates and rollback is an inbuilt feature in any of the robust OTA solutions. So Pavitra spoke about A/B updates. So it is nothing but if the package is not downloaded or if the update is not successful, it rolls back. So I do not think a feature will be provided to user to roll it back. It should be automatically done by a robust OTA solution.
Right, great. Anybody else got a view on that one for us? Anybody want to chat about that? Ram, Sachin, anybody got a view on rollbacks?
So yeah, as Sanjay rightly mentioned, rollback is a inherent feature of OTA itself. So because it is cellular and we know that it might break, it definitely needs to have a rollback feature where if it breaks when it's in progress, we'll have an option to roll back to what was already existing and then start running on that.
Okay, brilliant. Another question here, OEM maturity wise, how do you see the markets move? Will India market be parallel to Europe and US, or do you think that India will follow its own or follow a different market, or India will stay within India and develop our own systems, if you like, and stay within that market? What we've got there, let's have a look at Abhimanyu, what do you think on that one?
I think for the complete IoT software and OTA network is a very, very core component. And if you compare the network stability, the network technology in India versus the US or the Europe, it's very, very different. So I believe the resilience in the OTA software, the hardware itself would be very, very different in India. It would be more concentrated. As of now, it's more concentrated towards 2G and 4G rather than there are many other countries concentrating on LoRa or 3G. So I think, and even the software has to be made differently when you know the network speed is low, when you know the network drops are higher, when you know there are areas of dark zones, but there might be some other areas with very high speed internet. So I think it is a variable on geography.
Okay, brilliant. AJ, again, you're the most obvious. You've got Volvo in there. Hopefully trying to do global things. It's quite interesting then. How do you then compare with 2G, 4G, when Volvo Europe is going 5G and all that? So come on, what are you guys doing? You think you'll do your own thing?
Yes, see again, first of all, any technology part, it has to have the localization flavor. To understand what are the local demographics in terms of technology, in terms of network, in terms of market readiness, in terms of customer, in terms who is actually going to use your vehicle. So all these elements needs to take into account to come to a final solution. It cannot be that it's a lift and shift. Can we say it's a simple IT architecture? No, it's not an IT architecture. To just a pick and just tailor it. It needs to bring into all these elements and then decide it. And that is why when we at Volvo Eicher, we are looking into it, we are considering all these elements. Right now, all the vehicles which we have, they are telematics enabled. The telematics is OTA enabled for us right now.
All right.
We're able to do it. in terms of changing the configurations in the telematics, in terms of its parameter setting and all, but not the EMS side. Let me put it this way. So, but when we go into IECU's level, that is where we need to see all the network side of it, the SOPs around it, which can be used. I think some of the questions are rollbacks and what can be the mechanisms and all. These are questions which are the indicators that we need to have our localized solution to understand what is the network bandwidth, the network backbone we have in place, all the adoption journey, whether the drivers, the owners, the vehicle person, in-person use, they are also able to understand what type of flexibility can be given at their end to invoke the updates. It is not like OTA will automatically happen. You need to have some SOP in place for the user to exhibit, to execute, and then the required action on vehicle will happen. So all these elements needs to take into account when we look into this OTA as a comprehensive solution. And that is what the experience we carry from Volvo, from that side, and bring into our ecosystem.
Thanks, Ajay. I think we've had it's quite interesting. I think it's a case of, yes, India's going to do its own thing, but it might do it on the back of a platform that may be shared, certainly from a global perspective, and then from certainly internal, from the two-wheeler side of it, then we can, I think that might be different in terms of that. We've maybe got one more question. I think we can finish off with that. What are the chances of software corruption during flashing with respect to the OTA? What can things go wrong? This is our last question, and I think we can wrap up after that. I'll just go through everyone. We can have a 30-second sort of 40-second discussion on that one. So, what are the chances of software corruption during flashing with respect to the OTA? And I'll start. AJ, start with you. You're here, and then I'll work through the team, and then I think we'll be finishing off. Go on.
Well, if the answer is in a binary form, then I'll say the yes. Okay, so there can be answers in maybes and not, but if in a binary form, the answer is yes. But is it a problem? No, it's not a problem. That is actually there is a solution for it in terms of the way the architecture of the OTA, the connected vehicles is done. We don't upgrade and software of an ICU directly. We always follow a foolproof path to create a buffer zone in the device wherein required software is downloaded, and then once it's bit check, its security elements, it's a data verification, all those elements of security are done, then the swap with the current version to the upgraded version is done to ensure that even if there is any security flaw, even if there is any data corruption in the package, is handled. And that is how you ensure the architecture is driven that way. And one point I would like to add up before I just conclude my part is, don't treat a software as software. It is an integral part of the vehicle as a BOM item, as a bill of material item. So all the release and change management has to be done for that. The way we do it for a small nut and bolt or an aggregate, same concept has to be applied. Same release management, change management, and controls has to be put into place to make it deliverable. So that is, I'll rest my point here.
Thanks, AJ. That's it. Sanjay, obviously elected. Come on.
I totally concur with what Ajay said. I mean, I was going to say the same thing. So I don't have any additional point to add. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a buffer zone. I think we've worked that one out. Sanjay, thank you very much for that as well. I think, okay, I can't get through to all the, it's now, we're at 1:45 already. We've been 15 minutes over it. And I think we could have gone on for quite a while because I think I've got tons of questions. So it's been a great subject area for everybody. It is an insight. We can't do much in an hour. All we can do is give, as we've tried to do, an OEM perspective, a software perspective, a user's perspective and everything like that, and also looking at different aspects. So what is left? I think we can share the presentation. Sanjay, is that correct that you did? Is that possible? Some people are asking for that.
We will share it.
No. Okay, good. Well, all that's left for me to do is to say thank you very much, first of all, to our panel. You've been great. Hopefully I've got through to most of you. I know it's been a little bit hectic, but I've enjoyed it, and I hope you have. And last but not least, to Roy, and also to you, the audience, I hope you found that. I'm sorry I didn't get through to all the questions. We only had an hour. Maybe we might do some others and cover those questions as well that you've got. But thank you very much for your time. Look after yourself and stay safe. Thank you very much from all the team.
Thank you
Okay,
so much.
so I'll just say I'll just end the session. So I want to thank everybody for joining today's live session on OTA updates and cybersecurity. I hope you all enjoyed the session and found it useful. And firstly, I would like to thank our speaker group for taking out the time from their busy schedules for this. We really appreciate the support. I know we ran a little, we overshot by 15 minutes. I apologize. Secondly, I would like to thank a wonderful audience for their inquisitiveness and their attention and the enthusiastic participation in the polls. Thank you so much. And lastly, I wanted to take this time to especially thank our partner, Electrobit India, for supporting this session. Thank you so much. And lastly, thank you all for joining us once again. And we will see you next for our upcoming session on electric vehicles on the 1st of September 2020. Please stay tuned. Stay safe. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.